Hey, wives. Hello. I probably said, Coach, we was expecting you a little bit earlier. I know. I know. Happy Self-Care Friday. Happy Self-Care Friday. Listen. So it is Coach T's Self-Care Day. So I won't hold y'all long. At least try not. But I want to make sure that I'm covering some information because this is the last Friday in the month of August. Come on, Jesus. Where have the time gone? This is the last Friday of the month. And so, y'all know how they used to do in school or just, anybody. I think some businesses even do that kind of top of the month is getting ready to come. So we need to go over some house rules, go over some, up and coming things that's coming up type of thing. So this live is going to be very informative. But I want to emphasize again that this is not a ministry. And I want to emphasize that because I am going to use a lot of scripture today. All right. And so I want to just make sure I put that out there. One of the things that the Lord has given me a privilege to do is to speak the gospel in my business. And I just praise God for that, right? I'm able to speak the gospel in my business. God did not call me to the church to preach the gospel. He called me to entrepreneurship, to teach the gospel and preach the gospel. And so I get an opportunity to do that with some of the wives that I coach. And so, listen, if this is your first time, welcome. My name is Coach T. And I am a mental health wife coach and marriage consultant. I coach wives who are going through a marital separation that involves abandonment, addiction, or adultery. Many times other wives that I coach are trying to decide whether or not they should stay in this marriage, they should continue to pursue this marriage, and or sometimes these wives have gotten a direct instruction. They have gotten a direct instruction from the Lord, and He has pretty much told them to, hey, I need you to stay in that marriage. I'm not asking you to leave. Hello, I'm not asking you to leave. I need you to stay in that marriage. And so for that reason, a lot of times these wives are trying to navigate through the grief and the pain and the loss and the suffering that they're going through because of the unhealthiness that is taking place. Many of these marriages will be marriages that the world will, check off as, this is doomed, this is over, this is just end that thing and start on over, right? These are not the most popular type of marriages, but there are some. There are a few that God has called them to stay in this type of marriage, and it has nothing to do with their marriage or their husband per se, but their husband will benefit from it. Okay. A lot of times it has nothing to do with the husband. It has absolutely nothing to do with the husband. And that's where a lot of wives go wrong at. Because they feel like the only way that they can get any type of help is if, one, their husband come along and, be on board with them. Two, that they can get their husbands back, to this place where things used to be. Or three, what are we even doing this marriage thing for if, he's going to be still doing his own thing? When wives have to understand, God did not call you to stay in this unhealthy marriage to, just to go along with your husband foolery, right? He didn't call you to stay in his marriage just to, be in agreement with his, with his foul behavior. God didn't call you to stay in this marriage because he wanted you to put your emphasis on your husband. God called you to this marriage, to restore you. God called you to stay in this unhealthy marriage to do a work in you. God called you to stay in this unhealthy marriage so he can minister to you in another way. God called you to this marriage to show you something about yourself. And in season, he will then work things out according to your marriage and according to whatever the instructions that he has placed in your heart, placed in your spirit, has given you divinely, prophetically, or, even through the written word. However God has spoken to you concerning your marital circumstance, all right? And so on that note, welcome. Like I mentioned to y'all a couple of weeks ago, I'm not going to get into a whole lot of prayer, but I am just emphasizing today that I am using a lot of scripture, and it's because we need scripture today. So on that note, I'm going to say, Lord Jesus, be a fence. Right? Be a fence. As you can see, I have titled this live as Marry Me Again. Marry Me Again. All right? And I want to share some things with you, and I want to be really, really mindful of how I share those things with you on today. I'm going to really try to help you to understand what God is trying to get across and what he's trying to say during this time. Everyone should have an opportunity to do it again, right? I feel like everyone should have a do-over. That's just me. That's just Coach T. All right? And I think the Bible calls it grace, right? But the Bible calls it grace. Everybody deserves an opportunity to do it over. Listen, if you are a believer of Christ, right? If you are a believer of Christ, then you have already married him. If you are a believer of Christ, you are already in covenant with him. But if for some reason you may have departed, or for some reason you may have, went backwards a little bit. You may have, kind of got out of, doing things his way. Today is an opportunity for you to marry him again. I hear God saying, let's get back to how things were between us in the beginning when it was just me and you. Let's get back to that. Let's start over. One of the reasons as a mental health wife coach, why I use the word in my practice when coaching wives, I use the word of God because God's word will not fail you. God's word will not fail you. When you're going through a mental and emotional crisis, when you are dealing with some heavy junk in a marriage that has caused you great pain, that has caused you great agony, that has caused you all type of anxiety, stress, you need the word of the Lord to help you maintain through that. Okay? You need the word of the Lord to help you to maintain that. All right? To get through that. But what so many kind of like veer off a little bit from that is they feel like the word is the only thing that's needed. And that's not the case. Okay? Wives going through a hardship in their marriage need a outlet. They need community. They need someone with some type of substance. They need someone who understands them. They need a safe place. They need to be able to come and speak to someone where no judgment is, where no judgment is there. They need to be able to speak to someone where they don't feel like they're crazy. They don't feel like they're losing their mind, but they're actually sharing their heart and pouring out their heart about what they feel like they're dealing with, and maybe even the unfairness that goes along with it. Because let me tell you, this journey sometimes can feel like it's unfair. All right, this journey can feel like it's unfair, and in my own personal opinion, and from my experience, and from what I've seen and what I have experienced myself, you will literally feel like ain't no doggone way. There ain't no doggone way God is calling me to do something or deal with something as harsh, as hard, as healthy as this. There's no way God is calling me to this. There's no way God is calling me to this. But the reality is he is the wife. The reality of that is that he is. And he's using it not for your marriage, so to speak. Because a lot of people get caught up in that part. He's using it for you. Okay? He's using that for you. So, what God is saying now is, I need you to trust me again. Hello? I need you to trust me again. Marry me. Marry me again. Marry me. Because I need you to trust me again. All right? I need you to trust me again. I need us to come back together. I need us to be able to get back to how we used to be. I need us to start over. Marry me. Marry me. All right? I need you to marry me again. I need you to trust me. This week, and y'all know Coach C gonna share transparency, has been a railroad full of revelation for me. It has been a railroad full of revelation. This week, I have had to literally empty my head out in ways that I have not done in a long time because of all the information that was received. When I'm not coaching, when I'm not doing sessions, I'm spending time with God, y'all. Right? If I don't have a session, if I'm not, doing sessions on that day or that week, I'm spending time with God. All right. And I'm not just spending time with God because of the wives that I work with. That's part of it. But I'm spending time with God because I need God to speak to me. God has entrusted me with not only the wife clients that I coach, but my husband, my sons, my family, people in my community. They got me back at the church again. Jesus, help me, Lord. But the Lord has allowed me to shift gears there where my schedule is only once a month. Because I'm like, if I do it any more than once a month, I ain't going to do it. I'm just like, God, listen, we got to work something out. So it's only once a month, but it's still there, right? So I'm constantly in a position where I am in a place where I'm trying to hear from God. Even my job, even my regular 9-to-5 job that I work still, I work in a woman's office. And even my job, I am in a place where I am still so I can hear him. So this week has been a lot of revelation. It has been a lot of revelation, and I've had to empty my head out. Yet, I need to make sure that I steward what God has shared and be able to decipher between what needs to be shared and what I cannot share right now. One of the things, I'm just going to this is kind of like a term, but I'm going to bring it back. That the Lord had brought to me a couple of weeks ago, not recently, was when you come back. I think, it was during my time when I had took my little break. He said, when you come back, I want you to shift gears when it comes down to what you share about your husband. I want you to shift gears about what you share about your husband and how you share him on live with others. And so I was like, okay, I'm being mindful of that or whatever. So crazy today because today I was going to mention my husband. I'm still going to mention him. But I have to just be mindful of how I mention him in this new season. Okay? I have to be mindful of how I mention him. So, with that, with me having information, basically, I had to be very, very, very particular of how I put together my content to share on today. All right? One of the reasons, and I just want to just, again, I'm just sharing some information as I go along. As a mental health wife coach, as a marriage consultant, as a service provider for wives who are going through critical times in their marriages and they need someone to talk through that grief, through that hardship, through that pain. As that person, I have to come on and produce information and content where I can share, the benefits of why this person needs to be seen by me, but then also I do have an obligation to share God's word. I do have an obligation. That was just part of the instructions that God has given me. But it's not a ministry, okay? This is a business. And that's just something I'm just going to be very, very intentional about from here on out. Just emphasizing that. I just so happen to be able to minister in my business. So, I'm going to share parts of my week, and then the other part I'm going to share in my email. All right, I'm going to share in my email content that I share on a weekly basis. So if you're not connected with me on my email, I encourage you to get connected with me, because on my email that I send out weekly to some of my my clients, some of the ones who can't necessarily have a session right now, or it's like a nurturing type of thing. So I'm nurturing those clients through encouragement, through support, and sometimes I do get a little bit more personal in those emails than I would even out loud here. So I'm gonna share some here and then some in the email. So if you're not connected, get connected. I want to touch on a few things today. Of course, some transparency, trust, the suffering ring, and then just kind of briefly talk about some merch that's getting ready to come out. Real brief. All right. So we're gonna start with the transparency today, y'all. Okay. I'm gonna start by saying first that it makes me mad as all get out when God confirms to you what the enemy is doing in the background to destroy marriages. It makes me mad. It makes me mad. All right. This morning, God had confirmed to me what kind of attack the enemy was trying to get me with. Me, Coach T. Okay? And he almost got me. He almost got me. He almost got me. But God. All right? He almost got me. To the wife, I say, who has an ear to hear this, okay? To that wife who has an ear to hear this. The enemy is trying to keep you in odds with your husband. The enemy is trying to keep you in odds with your husband. He is trying to consume you with anger, and he's trying to keep you and your husband at odds. Spiritual and demonic forces is behind this tactic. Spiritual and demonic forces is behind this tactic. This is what the Lord said to me. This is why, also, this is what God is saying. You have to trust me. All right? You have to trust me. You have to listen to me, because the enemy wants to destroy what God has joined together. The enemy wants to destroy that. And he will too if you are not in tune with the instructions and with basically his voice, and you're not in tune with the instructions and with the words that he is speaking to you. The enemy would definitely win, hands down. Ain't no joke about that. I know a lot of times they say, well, what if you can't hear from God? What if you can't hear from God? My response to that, because a lot of people feel like, you don't need to hear from God, in order for you to do this or that. When you're dealing with a marriage is in a situation as unhealthy as this, adultery, abandonment, addiction, even some, maybe some like emotional abuse. If you're dealing with that type of foolery, you need to hear from God. Yes, you need to know his word, but you need to also be able to hear from God. You need to develop a regiment. You need to develop some type of system where you can get in place so you can hear God speaking to you. It is no longer an excuse. It is no longer like, oh, well, you don't have to hear from God. Yes, you do. I ain't gonna ever stop telling you that. You need to hear from God. Okay? You are not going to do well, not just on this journey, but you won't even do well in life if you don't discipline yourself enough where your ears are in tune to hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying to you concerning your life, concerning your marriage, concerning your children, concerning your future. You need to hear from God. And if you don't know how to hear from God, you need to learn how to. That's it. I ain't gonna get rowdy up just yet. All right? Because I got in trouble this week. So I'm going to be real mindful. I'm getting a lot of grace out. I'm giving a lot of grace this week. Okay? I help wives detox mentally and emotionally so they can hear the voice of God clearly. That is what my sessions are about. I want to help that wife to get all that gunk out, help her to think clearly, hear clearly, see clearly, so she'll know what she needs to do moving forward. And when you're dealing with an unhealthy spouse, or you're dealing with a husband who is so in his own world, so in his own lane, and all of a sudden your marriage has went from grand to blah, you need to figure out what's going on. You need to figure out like how do we get here? What's going on? What has happened? Right? So you need to hear from God. And this is one of the things I do. So when you hear me say I'm a mental health wife coach, I am literally helping that wife to rethink, to renew her mind. I'm giving her a safe place for her to be able to verbally speak those thoughts, those feelings, what she got going on, what she's dealing with, the pain that she is suffering through because of what's happening in her unhealthy marriage. I'm helping that wife to walk through that. All right? I'm helping her to walk through that. So, I cannot emphasize enough, wife, that you are to make sure that you are acknowledging your pain, sit in it, but don't live in it. Acknowledge it, sit in it, but don't stay there. All right? Don't stay there. And so many wives stay in that place because they don't have a safe outlet, or they don't have a healthy outlet to be able to articulate some of those thoughts and things that they got to say. Because a lot of times wives feel like, well, if God told me to stay in this unhealthy marriage, or God had told me to stand for this marriage, then that must mean I'm supposed to just deal with this. I'm supposed to just accept everything that this man is throwing my way. And that is not true. Okay? That is not true. Nobody ain't asking you to just sit down here and just die and just let this person do any kind of stuff to you. Nobody ain't asking you to just sit here and just lay your life completely down and don't do nothing else with it while you just, I'm just here waiting for my husband. No, that's not what God is asking you to do. That's not what this is about. That's not what this journey even represents. That's not what God is saying here. God is saying, if I ask you to stay in that marriage, I ask you to stay in that marriage for a way much bigger purpose than what you think. Many times wives think they are standing in their marriage for their husbands. That is not why God has asked you to stay in this marriage, wife. That is not the reason why God has asked you to stand in this marriage. Now, I always say your husband will benefit from it. All right? Your husband will benefit from that. And as time goes and God gets you in the place that he wants to get you in, then he will start to gear you towards your marriage and start to lead you towards your marriage and tell you things about your marriage. But please understand, that is not the first reason why God has asked you to stand for this marriage. Okay? Now, so I want to talk about my transparency a little bit. I want to mention this. I said confront the pain and cast your cares unto the Lord. But you need to have a systematic way of doing this to maintain. All right? Wives, you got to talk about this stuff. Okay? Stop feeling like you have to just sit there, and stop thinking that your mama them, your sister them, your cousins them, your auntie them, your friends, stop thinking that they understand. You can't talk to everybody about your marriage stuff. You just cannot do that. All right? Stop thinking that the pastor is the only person or talking to somebody in the church is the only person that you're supposed to talk to about this. You need to connect with someone who understands you. And this is why this ain't no shade to nobody. This ain't me saying nothing. I am not in competition with no other coach. I'm not in competition with no other coach. I'm not in competition when it comes down to being a wife coach. I'm not in competition because I'm not just a wife coach. I am a provider for wives who are going through a mental and emotional distress in a marriage due to there being a marriage separation taking place. I want that name for myself. I want to be known as that provider for wives to help them walk through some of their unhealthiness. Yes, she's going to preach the gospel. She's going to talk about the Lord. She's going to give you scriptures. She's going to joke. She's going to give you transparency. But at the end of the day, she is a safe place where I can go and walk through my marital stuff. And she understands me and she can give me sound counsel on what I need to do. That's it. Okay? So, let me give you some of my transparency. Because even the coach get in trouble, y'all. Okay? Even the coach get in trouble from the big coach. Okay? I got a coach over the coach. The coach over the coach came down to Tanika this week. So, I had a great week. Right? I had a great week. Like I said, if I'm not doing sessions, then I am spending time with the Lord. Outside of my domestic stuff and being a wife, being a mother, being a sister, that kind of stuff. But on my time, when I have some downtime, or if I'm not seeing a lot of, clients that week, then I spend time with the Lord. So this week I had 4 sessions. Okay. I had 4 sessions. I'm very intentional about how I do my sessions. Because I love me and I'm not trying to overwhelm myself. Okay. I work in a doctor's office. I see how these providers be needing days off. Okay. So I'm very mindful. So if I have 4 sessions this week, I probably only have 1 or 2, the following week. So I'm very, very, very strategic on how I set up my schedule. That's just because I am a mental health self-care coach. And so I believe in self-care for myself as well. All right. So this week I had 4 sessions, okay? And most of my wife clients, surprisingly, moved their sessions up to an earlier time and earlier time. And so I was able to work something out where we was able to move that, and it gave me an extra day where I would really have to use 4 days, but I only had to end up using 3 days, right? So after speaking to some of these wives, a lot of the stories I was getting was like good stories. Like these wives were literally knocking it out the ballpark. They were literally having all kind of breakthroughs, all kind of great reports. They had them work the strategies. The action plan went well. It was like I was getting great reports. Okay, it was just good all across the board. I was a proud coach this week. All right. And so I also had noticed that, okay, after adjusting my schedule, I got an extra day. I had an extra day. And so I know, because of my history and because of my walk with the Lord, I know when God strategically does things like that, I already know something is getting ready to come, okay? I already know something is getting ready to change, something getting ready to happen, something getting ready to shift. Something, okay, whether with my husband, whether with my kids, whether with my family, whether with, something's coming, or whether with me. This week it was me. And so I was like, okay, all right, I'm good. I got a good week. We're gonna go, I'm gonna have an extra day so I can, kind of, wind down a little bit earlier this week, or whatever. And so, yesterday happened. Yesterday was Thursday, right? And I had a session with God. Okay, Coach T had a session with God. All right, and so, like I said, I cannot share everything because it doesn't involve my husband, but I'm going to show you pieces of it. So, my husband has started this new adventure. We're going to just say that, okay? He has started this new adventure. And he has bought some, he's an electronic guy. So he like all, everything electronics, everything, whatever. So he's gotten, into some of that stuff again. He's, going into that. And he's back on this new adventure. Okay? He's back on this new adventure. And, sometimes I just be like, like things make you go, Well, it was one electronic advice that I was, questioning, and I was just like, but I didn't get too much in it. I didn't say too much about it or whatever. Hello. And so I went on, about my day or whatever. So one of my ways that I try to treat myself is, especially when I have like 4 sessions in 1 week, one of the ways I try to treat myself, hey, Miss Lady, is by doing something for the house, or I'm doing something for myself, or I'm doing something for my kids. So this week was for the house. So this week I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get some work did. I've been really wanting to like, get some pressure wash. I'm a Florida girl, so when the grass is green, you want, you can bring out your nice little chairs, whatever you want to sit on the porch. And so I wanted to get the pressure, the house pressure washed or whatever. And so that was gonna be my little treat for myself. I'm gonna treat myself this week and get the house pressure washed. That makes me feel happy. All right. I like to come home to a nice looking home. I like to come home to a nice house because the home association people, they crazy anyway, they be bothering you. And so why not, right? Why not? And so the guy was here. He was, pressure washing the home or whatever. And, we have the little, camera on the door. And so, I was able to like see him. And I was just feeling really good on the inside. Like, yes, right? Like, yes. And then all of a sudden the camera shows like it was offline. So I'm like, okay. Well, I know that sometimes the camera goes offline, but it never goes offline and stays for too long. And then sometimes I can even adjust it, from my phone. I can adjust it. So I'm like, well, I'm going to wait a little bit or whatever, and just see what's, happening. Well, about an hour, 2 hours passed by and it still had not happened. So for some odd, strange reason, because my husband is the one that, like, he can operate like the camera like the most from his phone. And so from some strange reason, I felt like he probably done blocked me. And he done took me off this thing, and I can't see the house no more. Baby. Now, I don't normally sit and watch the camera, but just to know that I have access to it, it makes me feel kind of good. Like, it makes me feel like, okay, I can see my house from time to time while I'm at work, whatever gets you through the day. And so, because I think I had a little issue with the electronic that I wasn't too particular about that he had, I felt like he done disconnected me from this part of the electronic and I can't see no more. So I'm like, well, I'm going to go home on my lunch break. I'm going to go home on my lunch break and I'm going to reset this thing again. Because if he kicked me out this thing, we're going to have a problem, Jesus. So I'm talking to God like, God, talk to your son. Like, talk to your son. And the Lord was like, do you trust me? I'm like, yes, I trust you sometimes, Lord. I trust you with some things because right now, this right here, I'm feeling some type of way about this. And let me just pause right here and just say, this is transparency. This is true. There are some areas where I trust God. I don't even second guess it. I don't even think twice about it. I'm just like, God got that, whatever. But then there are some areas when I'm like, wait a minute, Jesus. And so that's how I talk to God. When he asks me a question like, do you trust me? I'm like, well, today I'm feeling some type of way. All right. I'm feeling some type of way because now I feel myself like I can feel the fire coming up. And so I'm going to go home, Jesus. I'm going home on lunch break. I'm going to go and see what's going on with this camera because I can't understand why this camera is not working. Get home, come home, reset the thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to show him that this thing may be working. Did all that. Thing still saying it was offline. I said, oh, no, he didn't. Oh, no, he didn't. So I goes outside. I'm checking around the house. I said, well, maybe the man, when he was doing a pressure washing, maybe he probably sprayed it accidentally or maybe something happened or whatever. So I goes and look at the camera. I said, it looks fine to me. It looks perfect. There's nothing wrong with it or whatever. So now I'm going to call the Comcast people. Because I'm trying to, before I call him and say something to him, I'm trying to rule out all my options, okay? So I'm like, well, maybe it's something else wrong. Let me just call Comcast. So I done got on the phone with Comcast. They get me on the phone with one of these people who I know will be talking all kinds of crazy ways. Oh, thank you, ma'am, for being such a loyal customer. We see that you have a upgrade. I said, listen, sir, I don't want no upgrade. I want you to fix my internet. I ain't call you for no upgrade, sir. I need you to fix my internet because I'm trying to see if this man locked me out of this doggone system. And so he's like, yes, I understand. We're going to fix it for you, Miss Tanika. But we was wanting to see, did you get that email? We just sent you a message. Can you just, I said, listen, sir, I don't want no doggone updated. I was just bad. Mind you, while I'm acting like this, I can hear the Lord saying, the devil is just to consume you. He said, The devil just to consume you. Cause now I'm getting hot. Now he talking slow and he not answering my questions and he's telling me to do stuff. I done already left the house. I'm like, I can't do it. Well, Miss Tanika, well, we can just send you out somebody up to the house. I don't want you to send nobody to my house, sir. I just want you to reset it, okay? Just reset it. Didn't get what I wanted there. So I'm like, okay. So now I'm waiting for my son to come home because this is going to put the icing on the cake. Because if my son comes home, who also have the same exact camera on his phone, if he cannot get this thing to pull up, we're going to have a problem. We are going to have a problem. Baby, I was rocking and shaking in that doggone room like I'm like, I can't wait for him to come home. So my phone like vibrates, like showing he outside. He home. I didn't even get a boy time to get into the house, okay? I didn't give him time to walk through the front door. Jaden, check your phone. Is your phone working? This and that and the other. Like, what's wrong, Mom? What's wrong? I said, I'm trying to see what's going on because I think your papa done took me off of this thing. This and that and the other. He said, well, what's wrong? What had happened? I said, check your phone. Check the phone and see if you got the camera working. So Jay checked his phone. He said, no, it's not working. I said, oh, it's not working. Again, the Lord still asking the same question. Do you trust me? Do you trust me? He's still asking the same question. Hello. And so I'm like, oh. I said, well, text your papa. Because there's no way. I said, text your papa and ask him, do he see the thing on his phone and there's something's going on, with the phone or whatever. So he texted me, he said, oh, he said that it's offline. He told me to restart it. I said, well, restart it again because I already came to restart, but just restart it again, Jaden. So he restarted or whatever. He told him, he said, no, it's still not working. So Papa said, well, I'm not sure what's going on with it. I come home and, and fix it or whatever. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe, right? Maybe. How about I still wasn't satisfied with that? So I'm like, okay, well, we gonna see. Because now I done already took the app off of my phone. I done deleted it and put it back on. Deleted the app, so now I don't have the password to reconnect. So now that means I'm gonna have to calm myself down enough to go and present myself to this man and tell him how I really feel about this, Ring camera and what's going on. So I said, well, let me just text him and let him know that the man did come over and pressure wash the house. And so it's a possibility that maybe it could have gotten wet. Like, maybe it could have got wet, but I ain't really, acknowledging that right now. So soon as he come home or whatever, and, my husband is very, he's real, when you tell him it's a problem, he's going to go right to it, he's going to fix it, he's going to do it. So he don't really ask no questions, he just goes straight to it. So I see him with the tools and stuff, and he's out there working and doing it, and he's fixing stuff and doing all kinds of stuff, but he ain't saying nothing. So I don't know if, something happened to the thing. Now I'm feeling some kind of way. I'm peeping around the corner, looking. Because I already know, because I done act all undignified earlier, going all kinds of off. I done called all the people, Comcast and the whole company. So I said, did you figure out what was wrong with it? Did you figure out what was wrong with it? He said, it got wet. What you mean? I said, but can you put it back in my phone then? Because I had to delete it. The whole thing that's happening, I had to delete the whole thing. He was like, so I said all that to say, listen, the enemy wants your head, wife. I'm trying to tell you. He wants your head. He wants to keep you at odds with your spouse. He wants to keep you on another place. He's trying to take you overboard. I was waiting for the Lord, go ahead and just go ahead and give my whooping, God. Go ahead and say what you're gonna say. He said, you're a little impatient. God said, you're a little impatient. I said, okay. So I thought that was gonna be it. Okay, I'm a little impatient, God. I got it. We already know that. I'm a little impatient sometimes. You know how you made me. I'm still working through that. And so then the next morning, when I went to him, that's when he laid everything out on the plane. You gotta stop this. you gotta stop this. You got to stop. You went down a whole rabbit hole off of one thought that you was incorrect about. You gotta stop this. And so it brought me to the place of how many wives get that one bad thought, and they let that one thing drive them for my whole day. It wasn't part of the day. It wasn't for an hour. It wasn't for 2 hours. It was the whole work day. That thing had consumed me. That thing had my mind running. I'm on the phone talking to all kind of people trying to figure out what's going on. Didn't even think that, well, maybe, Tanika, the thing got wet. Because now it's like, well, do we got to replace it? Now I'm like, okay, I got to call the man, say, you kind of like messed it up. I don't know what this is. All that, I let that one thought take me all around this circle, all around this world. And God, like, I need you to trust me. I need you to trust me. I need you to trust me. God had already told me it's going to come back on. He had told me that when I first seen that it had went off. He said, oh, it's going to come back on. I said, well, God, are you sure? I said, because it usually, but it came on like, as if you don't know. I said, because it usually been it came back on, but I ain't came back on yet. And I took that one thing, and I feel like God was like, I'm going to let her run with this, because she got to learn. She got to learn. I mean, I took that one event in for the whole day, from the morning all the way until that man came home at 7:30 at night, and it was like it was on me the whole time. Wise, you gotta get a hold of your head. You gotta get a hold of your head, all right? The enemy goal is to keep you at odds with your spouse. And I heard God say that so strongly. He wants to keep you at odds with him. So in order for him to do that, he has to set up little traps. He has to do little things like that to take you down that rabbit hole. He has to do things like that to get you off track of that. He has to do things to distract you like that. You gotta make sure that you are in tune with God and that you're doing the things that God is asking you to do in this season, all right? So let's talk about trust for a little bit, okay? Let's talk about trust. You never knew that a 5-letter word can cause so much pain, all right? When God asks me, and I hear him plainly, when he asks me, do you trust me? I know that he's not asking me that because, oh, I trust him. He's asking me that because he knows that I don't trust him. And so I have to then decide whether or not I'm going to be honest with God and tell him the truth, or if I'm going to kind of like, be like, yeah, God, I trust you. God, I trust you. Or I'm going to be like, God, no. God, no. So one of the things I have learned is when God asks me a question like that, I am honest. I'm honest. I say, well, Lord, today is rough. I trust you with I trust you with certain things, but this right here, I'm struggling with a little bit. Okay, I'm struggling with a little bit. And we say a lot of times out of our mouth so frequently that we trust God, yet we struggle with it regularly. I can hear God ask me, do you trust me? Do you trust me? Do you trust me? And like I said, I'm honest with God. Okay, I'm honest with God. God said, I need for you to marry me. I need for you to marry me. God is saying to you, wife, that he needs you to marry him. He needs you to marry him, and not just marry him, but marry him and stay faithful to him. Okay? Many times we marry God, but we don't stay faithful to him. And this is where the problem really comes into play. Because the moment we disconnect from him, we go back to where we came from. I mean, I literally, it don't take me that long with the sir, okay? It don't take me that long. And so it's like, you got to stay focused. You got to stay focused. And this is one of the reasons why I do stay in the word like I do. And I do stay in God's presence like I do. Because I do this type of work and I share with others so much, I know how the enemy tries to attack me. And I know the kind of head games that the enemy will try to play at me. So that's one of the reasons why I do stay in God's presence like I do. Like, I ain't really that one that's doing a whole lot of other stuff. I have my downtime. I have, my time that I spend on the phone with my family or whatever. Or I have my time, with my children or whatever. I have my time with my husband. But I'm not really doing a whole lot of extra stuff. Because I need to make sure that I'm in God's presence so I can hear from him correctly. I am a mental health life coach. So I know the enemy is going to mess with my head first before he tries to mess with any of my clients' heads, my children's head, or anything else. He's going to mess with me because he's trying to take the head out. And I'm not saying that I'm the head over my household, but he's trying to take, I'm an authoritative in what I do. And so he's trying to take me out first. And so I'm having to be really, really specific about spending that time with him. I'm very, very intentional about how I spend that time with him. But the enemy almost got me yesterday, okay? Let's go to the story about Peter, all right? So Peter was walking on water. He's walking on water. That's Matthew 14. And as long as Peter was focused on Jesus, he was good. He was good. But the moment he took his eyes off of him and looked down, he began to sink. And this is what happened with Wise, all right? This is what happened with Wise. You start off strong, looking and focusing on Jesus, and then a distraction comes. Whether the distraction is good or bad, right? Sometimes people be thinking that all distractions are bad. All distractions are not necessarily bad. some distractions be good distractions, but I should say be a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing that, that's taking place. But you still have to make sure, even when you have those high moments, you got to still know how to get back in alignment with God. Sometimes you will have, a glory a moment. Sometimes you're gonna have, you had a little small victory. And this is one of the things I try to emphasize to wives all the time. When you have those small victories, don't let that go to your head. All right, take that small victory, celebrate, but get back in the race, okay? Because something else is coming after that. The Bible talks about that. I think in Corinthians, we go from glory to glory to glory. So a lot of times people have those victories and they kind of like get off track. And I had all kind of victories this week. I had all kind of victories this week. I had did good things that would normally kind of like get to me. I was like, I'm good. I ain't worried about that. But it's like even when those small victories come, you have to still make sure that you get back in the race, okay? So whether the distractions are good or bad, you have to make sure that you stay focused and don't think. Forgetting that God has been the one keeping you afloat the whole time. That is a trap. You don't want to do that. Now, like I said, I cannot speak for others, but one of the things that I, as a coach, enjoy talking about is the suffering part of your journey. I enjoy talking about the suffering part of your journey because that was such a main part for me on my journey, right? That was a huge part for me. What I suffer and what I endure on my journey. And the reason I enjoy talking about it so much is because that's what I had went through. When they talk about long suffering, my name should have been like next to that. My picture should have been right next to that. My journey was a suffering journey. Like I literally had to do stuff that no wife would do. Like you just want to do that. You won't put up with that kind of stuff. And it wasn't just suffering. It was long suffering. This is the area that I feel like I am most thankful for. I am really truly most thankful for because it was through the suffering I became the person who I am today. Like I said, I tell people I got married young. My husband he was 21, 22, and I was like 22, 23. So we was young when we got married, right? I always share with my, with some of my clients, like, we got married, we moved into our home, we had everything. Like we didn't have to wait for it, a lot of times people move into their houses and stuff, they have to like, wait and save up money to, get furniture and save up money to decorate a room. And we was truly blessed. We was truly blessed. My parents really helped us a lot. And then we had money, we had money saved up or whatever. And so when we moved into our home as, operating as husband and wife, we was like, we got right on into it. It wasn't nothing lacking. Like we just went right on into it. So we was really, really blessed in that area. But baby, when I tell you, it didn't take long for the foolery to kick in. It didn't take long. It didn't take long at all. And so, but I'm truly blessed by that. I'm truly blessed and thankful by that. I can say that now that the suffering has really helped me become the person that I am today. All right. It has really helped me to become the person I am today. And, I know, and especially these days of time, people just don't do that. All right. People you just don't do that. Because of what I went through and because of the person I am, this is why I have very little tolerance for individuals who are not serious about healing or getting better. So when people reach out to me and say, "Oh, well, Coach C, I want to have a consultation. Oh, Coach C, I want to meet with you." This, and I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. Like, let's get to work." But I don't want to like sit and panicate with you. Like, let's get to work. If you want to do this, then let's do this. This is one of the reasons I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but this is one of the reasons why my prices are the prices that they are, because I am about my business. I know what I went through. I know the oil that I carry. I know what was produced on my journey. I know the results that people get after working with me. I know these things, and because I know these things, I do not like to waste my time. And so I'm very, very, very strong in that area because I don't have tolerance for like people saying, "Oh, I'm gonna wait. Give me 30 days." I digress. I digress. So I share to say that for that reason. I have very little tolerance. I share with you frequently about the cross. The cross, that's one of my favorite subjects to talk about when coming on here, because the cross is what I had to bear, right? The cross is literally what I had to bear. And I love talking about it because that is where the suffering, that's the suffering area where I really had to endure. I always tell wives I was persecuted for being a wife. I was persecuted for being a wife, right? Even now, I share with my clients, I give them a picture of the cross that I share with them about which parts of the cross that they need to prioritize. And I use my 4 pillars for my curriculum, Her Bonnie Boost. Do you need to prioritize your mental? Do you need to prioritize your emotional? Do you need to prioritize your physical? Or do you need to prioritize your physical? Like what part? Because we all have a cross to bear. All right? We all have a part a cross to carry. Matthew 16:24, the Amplified verse says this. Then Jesus said to his disciples, if anyone wishes to follow me as my disciple, he must deny himself, set aside his selfish interests, and take up his cross, expressing a willingness to endure whatever may come, and follow me, believing in me, confirming to my example in living, and need be, suffering or perhaps dying because of faith in me. This is what carrying your cross means, wife. This is what you're doing, all right? This is what carrying your cross means. You are literally carrying your cross as what this Bible verse just read. This is what you're doing. This journey requires you to take up your cross daily, okay? I was speaking with a client earlier this week, and one of the things that we were talking about was about the different crosses that you can carry. You happen to be carrying your marriage crosses, your marriage cross, but there are so many other people that are carrying crosses. Theirs may not necessarily be their marriages, but they have other crosses that they're carrying. Some are carrying crosses such as a sick child, a sick parent, money crisis, family dysfunctions, disabilities, chronic illness, suffering. Some type of suffering that they're going through, all right? That's all part of life because we all have a cross to carry. Once you come to terms that things will become easier for you, then it'll be easy for you to bear. We all have a cross to carry, okay? We all have a cross to carry. If it wouldn't be your marriage, it would be something else. And that was one of the things that my client had, brought up this week that stood out to me. Like, if it wouldn't be this, it would be something else. You will have something else that you would have to deal with. Some people are carrying the cross of imprisonment. They are carrying the cross of losing a child. They are carrying the cross of not being able to have a child. They are carrying the cross of losing their parents. They are carrying the cross of having a relationship, of not having a relationship with their parents. And then we go from season to season, and different things happen, from season to season. So you don't know what your next cross may be, right? You don't know what your next cross may be. But we all do have a cross to carry. We all have a cross to carry, and yours just so happened to be your marriage. And so I wanted to come on today and just simply share with you 3 ways that you can stay married to God, all right? 3 ways that you can stay married to God and just remain faithful to him, okay? Remain faithful to him. Number 1, you can stay married to God by being intentional about carrying your cross, all right? You can stay married to God about being intentional about carrying your cross. For the wives who have did the curriculum Her Bonnie Boost, they know that I sent them a shirt. I sent them a shirt on there, and it talks about his wife, and on that shirt it has a specific Bible verse. I always use 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 16a to 17. Well, I wanted to read to you today 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 17, which says, nevertheless, each person should live as a believer in whatever situation the Lord has assigned to them, just as God has called them. This is the rule I lay down in all the churches. Basically, what God is saying is, whatever I have given you to do, whatever assignment I have given you, you are to represent me. That is your cross. You carry that cross, and you represent me all the way to the finish line. You represent me till I tell you something different. You represent me till I give you a new assignment. This is what your cross is. This is what you do, right? So when wives say, well, will God really make me do something like this? Or will God really make me go through something like this? Yes, that's your cross that he is asking you to carry. That is your cross that he's asking you to, for you to bear. All right? So one of the ways for you to stay married to God and stay faithful to him is by carrying your cross. Pick up your cross and carry it. Pick up your marriage cross, wife, and carry it. All right? This is what you need to do in this season. Number 2, you can stay married to God by staying connected with the right source, which is his word. Okay? John 15:4 says, remain in me. This is the NIV version. Remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. The only way that you're going to be able to remain faithful to God and stay married to him is by staying connected to him. I tell wives all the time, your coach, your pastor, your small group, your community of people, those are all great. Those are all great sources. But God is the source when it comes down to what you're going through in your marriage. God is the source when it comes down to what you got going on. God is the source that you want to stay connected to. Too many wives kind of like plug in and then pull out. They'll plug in for a little while and get in it and they pull out. Oh, he acting crazy today, so they pull out. Oh, they done see something on social media, so they pull out. Oh, he done came here acting some kind of way, so they pull out. And wives gotta understand, you got to stay connected to the vine. You got to stay connected to the source. You can't be up and down. You can't be, oh, today I'm doing this and tomorrow I'm not doing this. You can't be up, down, up, down. You have to remain. Listen, please understand, even when you're connected to the source, it does not mean that you won't have bad days. It does not mean guilty. Guilty. It does not mean that you won't have bad days. It doesn't mean that you won't miss it. It doesn't mean that you won't fall short. But as long as you're connected, then you'll know how to get back up and get back and going and doing what you need to do to keep moving forward. Okay? So you need to make sure that you remain connected to the source. All right? And number three, you can stay married to God by by having consistency, accountability. Consistency, accountability. All right. Romans 14:12 says, so then each of us will give an account of ourselves to God. Each of us will give an account to ourselves to God. I was telling my accountability partner about what had happened to me, with the situation on yesterday. And then the first question she asked me was, but did you pass? but did you pass though? Did you pass the test? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think God graded me this time. I think he just kind of like put me up on game about what the enemy is doing. And what the enemy is doing is trying to keep even you at odds with your husband. Like, you got to make sure that you are staying the course. I have given you a certain type of responsibility, so you got to make sure that you are staying the course and staying focused. You can't allow him to distract you and take you down that rabbit hole like that, because that's what his plan and that's what his goal is. All right. And so, wife, if you're not carrying your cross, if you're not staying connected to the vine, and you do not have accountability, I can guarantee you this: you're not married to God like you're supposed to be. You're not married to God like you're supposed to be. Okay? And in order for you to do well on this journey, you need to be married to God. All right? You need to be married to God. I want to share a little bit more details about that in my email when I sent out to the wives this week. I'm going to give a little more details about that part, about what it means to be married to God. But this is the time, this is the season, this is the time for you to realign yourself and get back in alignment with God. Get yourself back into a healthy place. Get yourself bounce back and get back to where you need to be at, so you can get on board with the things that God is calling you to do. Okay? It's decision-making time. It's decision-making time. And I love decision-making time, because this is the time when wives make a decision whether or not they're going to remain in the same place, or whether or not they're going to pick up, move forward, and say, you know what, I'm going to keep rolling. All right? I'm going to keep rolling. This journey requires your participation. And even though you may not necessarily have to fight the entire time, it still requires your participation. This journey requires you to take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And wives got to stop thinking that they can do this on their own, or they can just piece little pieces together to get what they need. That is not healthy. That is not healthy. That's just like you saying, well, I know I need to get me a physical, but I don't have the insurance, so I'm not going to go get me a physical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just Google some stuff, and I'm going to see, okay, I'm going to go get this product, and I'm going to see how they did it. I'm going to try to do it, experiment this, and I'm going to Google this and see how they did this. I'm going to try to experiment this, and then I'm going to get my own stuff a physical, my own way. And I'm going to make sure I'm good down there. That's not how this go. Like, that's not how this go. You have to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. You have to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. The enemy wants your head. The enemy wants your thoughts. The enemy wants your heart. The enemy wants your strength. The enemy wants you, wife. He wants you to cave in, quit, throw in the towel, just walk away from this whole process. And if you think this process is about your husband, you're already going about it the wrong way. If you think that God has only told you to stay in your marriage because of your husband, you already got it wrong. Okay? You already got it wrong. And so one of the things I just always want to say is that, it's 3 ways you can work with me. It is 3 ways that you can work with Coach T. You can sign up for your consultation. That's a one-time consultation. That's if you have some questions about marriage stuff, you need some clarification on some things, you're trying to figure out exactly what this is all about, what this marital, quote-unquote, restoration stuff, this journey is really all about, sign up for your consultation, all right? Number 2, you can sign up for your mental and emotional detox. That's like a 30-day plan where I meet with you for 4 times out of those 30 days. I walk you through some of your mental things, your emotional things, some of that grief, some of that heart that you're dealing with. I give you an opportunity to talk through some of that hurt, some of that stress, some of that anxiety, some of that agony. It's an opportunity for wives to have a safe place to kind of like just vent, get that stuff out. Like, I need to get this stuff off of me. Like, this ninja out here acting a straight monkey. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? I think I had one person who, reached out and said, what if he's acting demonic towards me? What if he's saying he don't want to be married and he don't, he's acting all kind of ugly. Listen, y'all have to understand, spiritual forces out here is real. Demonic, being possessed and demonic, that kind of stuff is real. Like, those things are taking place. And if you are trying to battle with a person like that, oh, God have mercy on you. There is a strategy to dealing with a person like that. That is a strategy. You don't come back with a person like that. But when a person is in a situation like, they almost feel like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to be married to them, or maybe I'm supposed to be doing this. No, you need to find a way to disconnect from that person and find out what you're supposed to be doing. Wives want to disconnect and do their own thing. They don't want to do what God has telling them to do. And that's why so many people are failing on this. That's why so many people are not doing well on this journey. That's why so many people are going another way. Listen, get connected to the right provider who's going to help you and going to hold you accountable for the things that you're doing on this journey. All right? And then number three, you can sign up for her Bonus Boost. That is my signature curriculum. That is where I help wives to recover themselves. That is where I help wives to do their work. That is where the wives are saying, you know what? Okay, I'm tired of talking about him. I don't want to talk about him no more. I'm in the season where I'm going to work on me. This is what her Bonus Boost is about. It will help wives to reclaim herself, reclaim her life, get back into place, have a do-over for herself. That's what her Bonus Boost is all about. And so I want to encourage you, if you have not already, to sign up for your consultation. You can sign up at www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. Also, if you was to do the mental and emotional detox, the consultation does come in those sessions. It does come in those sessions. But if you already did a consultation, you just want to just walk through that mental and emotional detox, then you would just get you an extra session. That's all it is. All right. But you can sign up at my website, www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. Listen, I thought I had the sweater down here. I don't have it. I have to show it to y'all. But I am going to share it in my email for the ones who are interested in getting their hoodies. We're going into the fall season about carrying your cross, about carrying your marital cross. Like, wear your sweater proudly, okay? I think I had shared a video on my community board about why your Santa's not working. It's a sweater that I had on there, a yellow sweater, and I'm going to be having some of those available for the ones who are interested in purchasing their hoodies. For the ones who sign up for the Her Bonus Boost, you will get a hoodie in your box, right? You will get a hoodie in your box. So I want to encourage you, wives, this is the season and the time to do your work. We are coming to the end of this month, just like that. And September will be here just like that. All right? And so do your part on this journey, all right? That's all God is holding you accountable to you doing your part. If you are interested in signing up and working with me, I want to encourage you to do so today. www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. Listen, y'all go and enjoy the rest of y'all Friday, and I'll talk to you soon. Blessings.